I used to think the dark web was nothing more than an edgy campfire story for the internet age. You know, those exaggerated posts you'd stumble across on forums late at night. I accidentally hired a hitman. I clicked the wrong link, and someone's been following me ever since. I found a red room. I'd read them, roll my eyes, and scroll on. I mean, come on. I was 23, a dropout working night shifts at a warehouse. My life wasn't glamorous, but I wasn't stupid. I knew half those horror stories were written for karma points or cheap thrills. Or at least I thought I knew. Back then, I lived in a dingy apartment complex where the walls were thin enough to hear your neighbor sneeze. Nights were long and empty after my shift. I'd sit hunched over my old laptop, surfing forums to kill the silence. That's how it started. One night, someone dropped a link on a conspiracy board I followed. No explanation. Just, enter if you're brave enough. No turning back, I should have ignored it. God, I wish I had. But curiosity has a way of sinking claws into you, especially when your life feels like a dull loop of work, eat, sleep, repeat. So I clicked. At first glance, it wasn't what I expected. No gore, no shocking videos. Just a chat room. A dark screen with usernames sliding in and out of conversations. Most were short, cryptic, almost boring. People advertising services like stolen bank credentials, fake IDs, counterfeit money. Others bragged about scams they'd pulled off. It all felt sketchy, sure, but laughably fake. A bunch of wannabe criminals flexing behind a screen. I was about to close the window when a message popped up directly for me. Operator, we know who you are. I froze. I hadn't even posted, just lurked. My cursor hovered over the X in the corner of the browser, but instead of closing it, I stupidly typed back. Funny. Who am I then? The reply came in seconds. Operator, your name is my full name. You live at my address. Your sister's name is her name. Want me to keep going? My hands went cold on the keyboard. I hadn't used my real name anywhere. Not on this laptop, not on those boards. I was careful about that. Or at least I thought I was. I slammed the laptop shut, heart racing. I told myself it was just some creep bluffing. Maybe I'd been careless with cookies or trackers. There had to be an explanation. But the next morning, I found something that killed any hope of brushing it off. A package sat taped to my apartment door. No return address, no markings, just a plain brown box. I carried it inside with shaking hands, cut the tape, and opened it. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It was me, sleeping. The picture had been taken from inside my bedroom. I dropped it like it burned. My mind spun. How? I lived alone. I kept my door locked. My window was 3 stories up. I tore apart my apartment, searching every corner, every closet, even under the bed like a terrified child. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No hidden cameras. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the building made me jolt upright. I unplugged my laptop, smashed my phone with a hammer, even covered every mirror and reflective surface in the apartment. I sat in the dark, clutching a kitchen knife, waiting for footsteps that never came. Weeks dragged by like that. My paranoia consumed me. Every time I left for work, I scanned the parking lot for unfamiliar cars. I jumped at shadows in stairwells. My coworkers joked that I looked like a ghost. They didn't know I was being haunted in real time. 3 months later, I cracked. I moved to a different apartment across town. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could escape whatever nightmare I'd stumbled into. That illusion lasted less than 24 hours. On my first night in the new place, another package appeared. Same plain box. Same silent delivery. Inside was a USB drive. Against every instinct screaming at me, I plugged it into my laptop. There was one file, a video. It was me, opening the very same package I was holding at that moment. The footage was from the hallway outside my new apartment door. My stomach dropped. My skin crawled. I tore the USB out, hurled it across the room, and collapsed against the wall, shaking so hard I thought I'd pass out. That was the night I stopped scoffing at dark web horror stories, because I wasn't reading one anymore. I was living it. I wish I could say I cut ties after that USB drive incident. That would have been the smart move, right? Disconnect, burn the laptop, vanish offline completely. But fear has a strange way of twisting your logic. It doesn't make you careful, it makes you reckless. Instead of staying away from the dark web, I went back. Why? Because I needed answers. I couldn't stand the thought of being some faceless target, a puppet on strings I couldn't see. If I could just figure out who Operator was, maybe I could stop it, or at least understand why me. That's how my descent began. I returned to the chat room weeks later, using a fresh laptop I bought in cash. The same usernames floated in and out like phantoms, but this time I noticed something new. A link buried in the corner of the page. It looked like nonsense, just random characters, but when I clicked it, it led me deeper. That's when I found the real horror. The second forum wasn't a marketplace, it was a club, an initiation-only community. Entry required proof, meaning you had to upload something illegal, something that showed you belonged. People were posting home break-ins, carjackings, beatings, recorded and shared like trophies. Some uploads were even worse, the kind that made my stomach churn and my hands shake as I scrolled. I won't describe them here, because I don't want those images in anyone else's head. And that's where I saw him again. Operator. He was there, in the threads, running conversations like he owned the place. I knew he'd notice me eventually, and sure enough, a private message popped up not even 10 minutes later. Operator. Curiosity killed the cat, but maybe curiosity will save you. I didn't reply. I thought if I ignored him, he'd get bored. But then another message came, followed by another. Operator. Do you want to survive? Operator. You owe us. Then came the pictures again. My family. My little sister walking out of school with her backpack. My mom bent over in her garden. My dad locking up his hardware store. The implication was obvious. If I didn't play along, I wouldn't be the only one paying the price. Finally, I broke and typed, "What do you want?" The reply came instantly. Operator. Deliver a package. No questions. One time, and you're done. I argued at first. I said no. I begged them to leave me alone. But then they sent one more picture. My sister, asleep in her bed. That was enough. My hands shook as I typed back. Fine. Tell me what to do. A week later, a black box arrived in the mail. No markings, no return address, just like before. The instructions were simple. Drop it off at an abandoned house on the edge of town. Don't open it. Don't linger. Just leave it. The whole drive there, my chest felt like it was collapsing. Every streetlight, every pair of headlights in the rear view, I thought I was being followed. When I pulled up to the house, it was worse than I imagined. Windows boarded, grass waist high. The kind of place you'd expect teenagers to dare each other to spend the night in. My legs shook so badly I almost couldn't get out of the car. But I did. I carried the box to the porch, set it down, and walked away. Fast. Heart hammering. Palms slick with sweat. I didn't look back once. When I got home, I destroyed the phone I'd used to communicate with Operator, smashed it into pieces, and flushed the SIM card. For days afterward, I expected sirens. A knock on the door. Something. But nothing came. Weeks passed. No packages, no photos, no messages. I started to believe maybe it was over. Maybe it had just been a sick game. Maybe the box was empty, and I was just another pawn they liked to torture. But then, one morning at work, I overheard two coworkers talking by the vending machine. They were discussing a fire. An abandoned house had gone up in flames across town. A suspicious fire, the news called it. And 2 squatters had been found dead in the basement. My stomach turned to ice. That was the house where I left the box. I went home and threw up until there was nothing left inside me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wanted to believe it was coincidence, that maybe the fire was unrelated. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. That night my laptop pinged. A new message appeared in the same chat room from the same name I dreaded. It's been 3 years since that night. 3 years since the fire, since I left that cursed box on the porch of an abandoned house and unknowingly became part of something I'll never fully understand. People think time heals, but it doesn't. Not with this. If anything, the longer I've lived with it, the heavier it's become, like a chain wrapped tighter and tighter around my throat. I don't live a normal life anymore. I move every few months, like some fugitive on the run, but it doesn't matter. No matter where I go, the packages find me. Always plain brown boxes, always unmarked. Sometimes inside there's a photo, me in line at the grocery store, me sitting on a bus, me unlocking my new apartment for the very first time. Sometimes it's just a black envelope with one word inside. Run. Other times it's worse. Once, I opened a box to find a recording device, just a cheap little USB stick. When I plugged it in, there was only one audio file. 37 minutes long. The sound of me talking in my sleep. Word for word, I live alone. My doors stay locked, my windows stay shut. And yet, someone was close enough to record my breathing, my mumbling, the creak of my bed springs as I shifted in the dark. I haven't slept properly since. You might think the solution is simple. Go to the police. Tell them everything. Show them the photos, the USB drives, the packages. I tried. God help me, I tried. The first time, the officer who took my report looked at me like I was unhinged. Sounds like you've been on some scary websites, he said with a smirk. They wrote it off as paranoia. The second time I brought a box with me. I left it on the desk, my hands trembling, insisting they take it seriously. The officer opened it, examined the photo inside, and promised to look into it. I went home, almost relieved. But the next morning, when I woke up, my apartment door was standing wide open. My laptop was turned on. On the screen, one line was typed into a blank document. Tell the cops again, and we'll start with your sister. I haven't said a word since. You don't know how isolating it is, carrying something like this. Every stranger's glance feels loaded. Every knock on the door makes my heart seize. My family has no idea. They think I'm just the weird one, the son who keeps his distance, the brother who won't come around. But that distance is the only thing keeping them safe. Sometimes I wonder if that's the real punishment. Not being killed, but being forced to live like this. A ghost in your own life, always looking over your shoulder, waiting for the axe to fall. Death would almost be a mercy compared to this constant dread. The sickest part is, I still don't know what they want. After the package delivery, I stopped doing tasks for them. I refused to play their game. But the surveillance hasn't stopped. The packages keep coming. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the game isn't about using me anymore. It's about breaking me. About showing me day after day that there's nowhere to run, no one to trust, and no escape except the one they decide to give me. Sometimes late at night, I catch myself thinking back to the very first link I clicked. That stupid, harmless-looking post on some forum. Enter if you're brave enough. No turning back. If I'd ignored it, maybe my life would still be mine. Maybe I'd still be a warehouse grunt with too much time on his hands. Maybe I wouldn't wake up every morning wondering if this is the day they finally step out of the shadows. I don't laugh at dark web horror stories anymore. I live them. And I need you to understand something. Once the dark web has its claws in you, it never lets go. You don't just stop being a target. You don't get to leave. You don't get to be free. So if you ever find yourself staring at a strange link in some hidden corner of the internet, don't click it. Don't just check it out. Don't make the mistake I made. Because I promise you, once the dark web finds you, you don't ever escape.